to talk about a very important factor, which is leadership. And I will read a quote which I got today from Simon Sinek. And that quote says, leadership is not about being in charge. It is about taking care of those in your charge. So, with that quote, let us delve into leadership as a catalyst for creating happy, healthy, and inspirational institutions in the world. And of course, for that matter, in India. So for this, we will go around the panel with different sets of questions, and all of the 4 panelists here today have created happier institutions because all of them have received, at least in this or the last edition, an Institute of Happiness Award. So first, if I would ask this question to Dr. Jayaram, who's been with us, and they have several prominent institutions across the country, what do you define as the role of an institutional leader in cultivating a campus culture that supports students' well-being and promotes happiness while still maintaining academic rigor, while still students are having fun, and yet they are serious about their education, yet they are happy, where there is no outward stress about competing, about doing best, and how can we create a happy institution. So, Dr. Jayaram, if you would like to first go, please.
Thank you, Ashwin. I think more importantly, as an institution, we have number of stakeholders. Who are our stakeholders? We have the parents, we have the students, we have the faculty members, we have the society. There are so many stakeholders for the younger generation. I think it is very important that we have to integrate all of them. First and foremost, I feel that if we want to bring in mental happiness and well-being of younger generation, it is the culmination of all these people coming together in making them a happier place to live. The first starts from the parents. The parents, the institution should have a lot of interactions with the parents, trying to understand them, have an interaction with them, trying to know them, what is happening at home and what is that they are missing out. So these are the interactions that the institution should start cultivating with the parents. With the faculty members, I think it's very, very important that we try to tell them that they are the parents for almost about 4 to 5 hours or 8 to 10 hours, at least about 8 hours when they are there, and they look to them as, as their guardians. So they are the people who have to cultivate personal relationship with them and start talking to them. Where is their missing links? What is their missing links? And this is what is very, very important. And as a society, I think society also has to play a very big role in the younger generation. Why I am saying this is, apart from the institution. See, today we are in a materialistic world. What we are looking at is a totally different world altogether. And they are exposed to so many things. It becomes very difficult for anybody to control. Even the parents are not able to control them, nor anybody, because the ability for them to look to, or they have so much of information available with them, which they try to make their opinions and start thinking that that's the right way of doing it. So I see that all the stakeholders have got a very big responsibility in trying to take this younger generation. So we have to do a lot of work, and we have to support the young generation if they really have to get into the well-being, mental well-being.
Dr. Jayaram, you raised the point about all the stakeholders. And I think as a top-down approach, the leader first has to embody those values. And I know your father was such a great philanthropist. He's given to the society, and you're leading this change now. My counter question to you on this is, what do you think is your role and the role of every leader right on top, so there is a top-down approach of creating that culture in the institution?
See, if I am the leader, I should be the man who should be a model. If I am not a model, then I don't think whatever that I am going to talk will have any relevance. As a leader, I must make my personality acceptable to the people to see whether they can learn from me what are the positiveness and what is the effect that they are going to have. So it starts from the leader himself. And I believe in that, because whenever I am talking to interaction with faculty, whenever I am talking to the students, I try to bring in the culture that we should not miss, which we have lost in this materialistic world, which we are paying a price for a very big price. Mental health is a very biggest problem. Now we are running the hospitals. We know what the problems are, and what are the ways in which we have been able to take those see those problems of those parents, their well-being, and also these young students going through de-addiction program. See, it is just such a torture. See, you try to do something, but you try to correct it. What a difficult thing that you have to get into. So my feeling is that we being leaders, it should start from us first. We should be the role models.
Great. So with that thought, I want to ask Dr. Viswanathan. Now, VIT, of course, is a very competitive university, and we have a very rigorous regulatory system in India. How can leadership play a role at the institution level while still maintaining the rigor and competitiveness? And I think you have an entrance exam as well. How can leadership, or the leaders you have, do better in order to maintain the same academic rigor, but to have a happier institution? Mm-hmm. So how can we maintain good academic rigor while still having happiness and mental health as an important area to consider as being a leader?
See, we are discussing about happiness sitting in one of the least happy countries of the world. Our ranking in happiness index is 126 out of 143. So as a country, we are not a happy country. Of course, some people are happy because they are rich. There is so much inequality in our society and the country. It's very difficult to think about happiness for all. Of course, Dr. Ashwin's question is very different. In our country, we are very much lagging behind in higher education. I would very much like all the poor and middle class students should have access to higher education. Then our gross enrollment ratio will go up. Now it is only 27%. In all the developed countries, it is vary from 60% to 100%. We should be also able to do it, but within the norms, whatever is available, we are trying to satisfy the students, parents, and of course the society. In our country, higher education means affiliation, approval, NOC, permission, and recognition. This is higher education in India. And the duty of the regulatory bodies is to see that none of the institution grows fast. That is what is happening in our country. Of course, the new education policy talks many things about it, but I don't know when they are going to be implemented. It's already 3 years over. Say, for example, they say only 3 kinds of universities will be there in the country. Research university, research cum teaching university, and autonomous institution. Another thing is all the bodies, regulatory bodies will disappear. There is only one, Higher Education Commission of India, which has not come into existence. And they say again, the affiliating system, it is an anachronism. There is no affiliating system in the world, anywhere in the world, except India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. They say it should be removed, but no steps has been taken. Under such circumstances, we are trying to grow and we are trying to see that our students get quality education and also an opportunity to work. But we have very good opportunity now. Our students can go throughout the world, compete, and they can win. Only thing is, we have to give them quality education, and that requires good teachers. That's where our problem lies. We get good students, but it's very difficult to get students, good teachers, because all of them go for either higher education outside the country or go to companies. That's the problem in many of the institutions. It's very difficult to get good teachers, especially the computer area where there is a lot of demand. These are the problems we are facing, but within this, we are trying to grow and also make the students happy.
Great. So India does have a challenge. I mean, the international indexes do place India much lower on the table for the happiness quotient. But you did raise a point about faculty and finding good faculty who are motivated, who are happy, and who choose perhaps academia as the first career. Now, I want to go to Dr. Prashant, and you had received a few awards today across both higher education and schools. So you're doing something different there. And how are you getting those happier teachers who are instead creating happier students and a happier institution? And maybe you can also throw some light on your leadership. What is that do you do differently?
Sure. Thanks, Ashwin. First of all, thanks QS for inviting me here in this August panel. I think if I start with Ashwin's question, I think this all started with our founder, Dr. O.P. Bhalla, who laid the vision of Manav Rachna. He was a social entrepreneur. I think in his times, he had brought in the low-cost housing movement to the state of Haryana. And that also got recognized across the world in various parts. And he went on to become the director of National Cooperative Housing Federation. And then it was a time when he felt that maybe in northern India, education is something which is missing in terms of the private space. We started with our first engineering institution in '97. And I think if you go by what our name we had coined, Manav Rachna, it is about creating mankind. So that's what was the starting point of his vision. He was a true philanthropist at his heart, and he had a vision. He was really a visionary who could see what future beholds. I think that's what is the driving force between what we were that day and what we are today, and what we have actually become. So I think what maybe when this all came to me, and I think some examples I would also like to share. Like at times, I had to take the mantle of being the youngest, maybe founder or the chancellor, and my friends were Viswanathan ji and Jayaram ji, like with whom I had to engage, and that was the age group I was involved in because of the responsibility that came on me. So when it comes to leadership, obviously it was a big challenge for me in terms of at that young age when you have to take the mantle of such an institution which had such a strong foundation, which had a leader who had a vision, and that legacy was supposed to get transformed to a young person who was not even crossed 40 then. So that was what a big challenge I faced. And I think the best thing that happened to us was the kind of people that we had with us. So I think that's what is a big differentiator. In the Manav Rachna ecosystem, everybody really were together as a family. And that's the kind of culture maybe he had always created. Some of the institutional values that he had inculcated in the system, and I could share many such examples, maybe when Jayaram touched upon our own traditions, our own cultures. So I think that is the key. Maybe somewhere in our education, I think what we might have lost in this process of when we spoke about our old traditional values, our old gurukuls, to today, maybe what we look at, maybe a more professionally driven education system. So somewhere I feel, I think the whole value proposition started from there, which really brought in everybody together, whether it was our leadership, whether it was our faculty, whether it was our students, and in the end it culminated to the community. So if I look at what Manav Rachna is today in 27 years of his journey, whatever our institutions have done, I think the first thing that they have really created is oneness. It's collaboration. They actually work together. They are the owners of their own whatever work it's being given to them. And it's like, as a leader, if you look at my own way of doing things, so I have given them empowerment and maybe entrusted them with all the authority and responsibility, which eventually leads in maybe a better environment and a better, happier institution to have evolved. Yeah, in this process, maybe the selection of leader is important. The person, maybe if you talk about in today's context, if you have the right vice chancellor sitting at the desk of doing things, I think that really impacts in terms, because eventually all academics are driven by them. If you have a very strong head of the institution, head of a school, I think that really impacts the value system of that particular school. So I think that also is there. So maybe our institutional values is what maybe makes us tall amongst many other peer group members, and we have a legacy of 27 years. But I think what differentiator we have been able to create is something because of what I think was the starting point, which came from the vision of our founder, and I think he himself in his life saw a big struggle. He started from a village. From there, he created all what we see today. And that's what maybe we have institutionalized his learnings, and we are just taking it forward. The other aspect, when you spoke about some of the the way things are happening on ground, we have lots of such support systems, whether in our schools, whether in our higher education system, where we have a School of Behavioral Sciences supporting with some specialized cells which are supporting the students, the Career Development Center supporting the students. We have processes through which we have our university advisory systems for the students' career advancement support system at each and every level. So all those practices and tools which over years have evolved, that has actually resulted in the institution what is in shape today. And with the blessings of our seniors, mentors, guidance, and even if we talk about how I see that when I come here in Karnataka specifically, and I look at the kind of learnings I get from somebody like Jayaram, how he has brought the whole structure of Karnataka institutions together. How Viswanathan ji at this age with EPSI, where we all have been working together, the kind of efforts he puts in to ensure that the whole sector comes together. And he still stuck to his 3 points that we are looking at autonomy, we are looking at affiliation system going away from this country, we are looking at better governance for our own purposes, and the trust. Maybe the trust is an important factor for the private institutions, where I still feel the government, when we look at the policy framework is very positive in terms of, I think, implementation. Maybe still there's some efforts that need to be put in, and that's how I look at things. Thank you, Ashwin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant. And I think what I gather from you, one is leaders delegating would be something which really would be key. And we understand the regulatory framework being difficult, but despite all of them, we see all the three institutions now have been able to actually thrive while being still competitive. And with that, I would like to go to Dr. Madhu, and I think it's an out-of-syllabus question for her, because I just brought her on. Now, you've also got the Institute of Happiness Award, and we just take the point what Dr. Prashant said of delegation and creation of new leaders, and your name itself is Madhu, which is sweetness. How are you as a leader creating more Madhus in your institution to create happier institutions?
Thank you. Out of question, but very near to my heart. Thank you very much. So how many of you have seen, so I can take some lighter moments also? Yes, yes, please. Okay. So how many of you have seen Jab We Met? So everybody, I think, especially the ladies love Geet, and मैं अपनी favorite हूँ. So I am my favorite, Madhu. Madhu is favorite to Madhu, and what I do is, and as well said by Prashant, giving name to Manav Rachna, that what is the meaning of it. So Chitkara is a family name, and now it has become a brand, so people say it's a brand, and thank you very much for seeing that as a brand. So Chitkara by default has a meaning, Chit Jama Kara. Chit is man, Kara is Karam. So man se kiya gaya Karam is Chitkara. So whosoever joins Chitkara, he start working from the heart. So whatever we do from heart becomes Chitkara. And I think that is my philosophy. Because I love myself, and I always say to the people, ki jab bhi aap, when you travel by plane, and there is first instructions given by the air hostess, which we never listen and which we never see. They say that whenever there is a problem, whenever there is an emergency and there will be oxygen cylinder, and first try to put it on your this thing, and if the small child is also there, then he or she should be the second one. So I always tell my people who join Chitkara, the first day of the orientation, so try first to put the oxygen cylinder on you. So first thing in the morning which we do is we see the mirror, and in the mirror we see ourselves. So if you are not passionate, if you are not loving yourself, you have to love yourself. You have to love your job. You have to love the profession which you are into it. So I started my journey as a school teacher, primary school teacher, as a 300 rupees. I don't have a background of my in-laws or parents. Me, my husband, both promoters, founders, started a school teachers in 76. So we both started, and we did, and that is all God's grace. I think we leaders, and still today in late 70s, my husband he's a great mathematician. Everybody knows about him as a mathematics teacher, Dr. Shok Chitkara. He teaches still, takes the classes for 5 hours daily in the university. I go every day to the university, and I always say that you are the leaders from front. You have to lead from front. Right? So whatever you are doing, the others will also do. So we do what we do in Chitkara, and why it's so happiness. I invite all of you to the campus. You enter the campus and you will start smiling. So it's an aura of the campus where P to P, the professors to the peon, everybody own the campus. So they are the owner, the partner of the campus. Even we have adopted the 12 villages, they are also partner to us. So last 9th of July, there was a flood, and everybody knows Chitkara University name was there. Everything was flooded. We got 16 crores of the loss. So we were not able to get it from other companies, or no government was giving us the money. But I was very happy. Everybody was seeing me as a leader, that now ma'am will be very upset coming to the campus that there is so much of loss. But I, as a leader, can't show them my stress. So all the leaders sitting here, please, you should be always happy. You should be always tirelessly working. The people who have seen me in the conferences have seen that I'm a very good listener. Maybe I'm a promoter, but whenever I go to the conferences, I make sure that I sit in all the sessions, because I learn a lot from others. So it's a learning, because I'm a mathematics teacher. So I did PhD in 84, and by default came to the management because my family was not able to manage. They said that, no, it's not our cup of tea. You do this thing. So I never did MBA. I was PhD mathematics. By default, I become the manager. But from people like them sitting here, Viswanathan ji, Jayaram ji, so as well said by Prashant, we are very young in that as a leaders, but we have learned observing them. So I think the best quality of a leader to make your campus very different from others is that if you are a good observant, when you observe, you learn. And I am very happy when there are the panel discussions or when there are the speakers. And the speaker is good, I'm not very happy. I'm not very happy with the good panel discussions. I'm very happy when the discussions are not good and the speaker is not good. Can you tell me, any of you, the answer? Because then I learn that I'm uncomfortable listening to that fellow, so I don't have to do that in my job. So in that way, I become myself a leader, And we do one thing which we do very regularly is a Chitkara Leadership Summit. So now at present I have 150 leaders, odd leaders. For 3 days we go out of the campus from all the problems of the campus and whatever the thing is, and we give our best practices of our school, and we fight, we learn, we talk to each other that what can be done, vision. Now this time we did the Vision 2030. So what we should do best. So my AI professor, the dean, said that I will do all your systems, all your LMS put on the AI. So these are the methods where you make all of them the leaders. Even the person who is at a support staff, so he can also become a leader. So I think these are the qualities which a leader should do to make other leaders.
Very well said, Dr. Madhu. And I think besides delegation, being passionate and have a listening ear, involve the people in, and I think that comes from the upbringing you have been brought. And I know you all do KG to PhD as an education institution. You have, and it probably starts from early on. Now, on that point, it leads me to the topic of empathy. Whose responsibility is it for leaders to have empathy in their leadership traits? Because not everybody can listen, right? And I think we all of you all are very well-renowned leaders, and I would like to go to Dr. Jayaram. And we always see in Dr. Jayaram, smile. All of you all have been smiling, and you'll listen to people, you'll engage with people. So tell us, I mean, is empathy the only thing which is required? Or are there any more elements you think leaders need to take back from this room? And empathy is not feeling sorry, but at least having the heart to understand what the person is. So that listening here, not just listening, but processing in the heart that yes, this is a person or this is a student, and having that understanding for the people who you would nourish. So I will ask this question to all three of you all because Dr. Madhuji has already answered this. So empathy plus what else more?
See, today, it is all about how you project yourself to a student or to the younger generation. If you want to project yourself well, then it is easy for him to understand you, what you are, and what is that you are expecting from them, or what is that you can learn from them. So empathy is about trying to make him understand. I say that it should touch his heart, because if you are talking something which doesn't even enter his mind, what is that you are trying to do? That means say there's a disconnect between people. If the disconnect is there, I don't think you are able to convey yourself. So I go back to the point that we as leaders should be able to be a model people of giving them the right advice and right thing and right, the way that they take or solve those problems, and be helpful to them in making them a better, better place for them to learn things. That is number one. Number two, the other thing is the biggest challenge today for the younger generation is two things. One is the drugs. Second is of the liquor. The governments are today overboard. They are selling liquor for every day. They said you must go on selling more and more and more. To whom are they going to sell? Are we trying to make the younger generation a better place for them to live? Or are you making a place where for them to go astray? Now, drugs. See, drugs has become a menace throughout the world. What are we trying to do? Nobody is talking about it. How are we going to control this menace? Now, well-being is yes, we can talk about it, we can talk to them, we can do, but please mind you, young students, even the age of 10 to 11 or 12, they become drug addicts. what are you going to do? How are you going to make them to wean away from them from all this? That's the reason why I emphasize that I think we have to have a lot of interaction with all our stakeholders. We must involve as many people as possible. They must talk to this younger generation. We must become or trying to tell them that first of all, you must believe in it, and try to talk to them. If you don't believe, you just talk, I don't think it is going to make any sense. That is the problem in this today's, the world. Because people talk without even understanding themselves what they are talking. They must first understand themselves, then they must talk. Only then these issues are going to be, at least there's somebody to listen to you. That I think is the real problem.
So can I summarize maybe accessibility of the leader? I mean, everybody says we have an open door policy, but the door is always closed, right? So how accessible, and maybe as I go to Dr. Viswanathan on the same topic of empathy, and everybody says, we are accessible leaders. Do you, and maybe you can add your own elements to that. What I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to get from you is how accessible the leader has to be in order to create a happier institution.
See, I always tell people that VIT is more a family than a university. We have teachers, students, non-teaching staff. We have to sail together, of course, along with the management. I always take care of, in fact, I tell our people that the first priority is teachers. If you have a satisfied, efficient, committed teachers, 90% of the problem is solved. I always tell the teachers, I will take care of all your problems, you take care of the children, the students. Of course, health-wise, whatever it is, we have all arrangements for teachers to be taken care of, and non-teaching staff also. Now we have 2,000 teachers in Vellore campus, about 3,000 non-teaching staff. Even though it's not easy, but we are able to take care of them, their health, whatever problems they face, that's all. And finally, they take care of the students. That's possible. Only thing is, we have to show our sympathy, and we have to be with them whenever they feel some problem is there, either at home or parents. There are various kinds of problems faced by the teachers and non-teaching staff. There, if you are with them, they feel that somebody is behind them. Then the problem is resolved, and the problems of students can be easily handled by them. Of course, Dr. Jayaram pointed out we have problems now with the students of modern age, which was not there 30, 40 years ago. These are certain things where we have to depend upon the government. Unless the government cooperates, the police cooperate, it will be difficult. And I would request all the governments to take care of this so that the students could be saved, their future could be saved. And ultimately, whatever happens, see, the higher education in our country depends on parents, not on governments. Because, in fact, I would like to tell you, we have 44,000 students in Vellore campus, about 4,000 PhD students, and the rest are bachelors and masters. I found out that there are only 630 students who get some kind of help from union government as well as state governments. That's what is India. The entire burden is on the parents. So whatever decision we take, I tell our people that we have to see the parents' point of view first. Take care of that, and then all the problems could be resolved. Whatever decision we take, it will be a correct decision. So we have to sail with them. We have to see that they are also part of our family. Then many problems could be easily resolved.
Great. I mean, while you were speaking, a scene from Three Idiots came to my mind on how competitive the system is, right? And while being competitive, our new national education policy has given us a flexibility, included new elements, and is trying to, if I would, in one of the words of you all, and if I would say, decolonize our higher education system in India. Now, on this journey to decolonizing and creating happier institutions, there is, of course, challenges of the modern world, which is, we said drugs, there is other antisocial elements as well. Now, is there a correlation, Dr. Prashant, and you can also add the empathy part in this, but my point is very specific. When we are talking of these problems, is it because the system is so tough that the students have to go into drugs and alcohol and other elements? Is it a vicious circle? And you can add the leadership element in this. How can you, as a leader, change that, break that cycle, or we are doomed? What is your say?
So you added 3-4 questions in one, whatever you want me to answer. So maybe coming to the empathy part first. I think one interesting thing I would like to just share here. See, we were running higher education institutions as well as schools, and higher education came, say, in 97, and around 5-6 years later, we got into the school running space. And primarily, like that also came from our founder, a thought that why shouldn't we get into a K-12? Because he felt that there's a lot needed to be done there. And if I look at how our schools evolved, and there were times when we used to compare, so the empathy factor in schools was far better compared to higher education. And if I went into the crux of it, so it was driven by the percentage of women like faculty members or women as our employees in the school ecosystem. So I think that is another aspect when we look at like how women involvement or larger women involvement even in higher education space has changed that part. Even when we look at, maybe there were times we would have just one dean with us who was heading one of the faculties, but as times grew, today we see lots of women leaders in those key positions. So I think that aspect also, when we look at, maybe obviously there would be some difference in the emotional thought process when we look at a human being between men and women. So maybe that difference also impacts on the leader when they're looking at, when we are dealing with students. So whether it is a K-12 student or earlier student or even a higher education student, how a woman leader really actually looks at that is something that I have seen myself, and I've seen it translate in my higher education ecosystem specifically, as we see lots of women leaders coming in and they're taking commanding positions. And the bit that you mentioned about the challenges, the stress that maybe the today's generation is going through, so maybe I can talk about my own experience. My younger daughter, she did her graduation from New York, NYU, came back, joined us. So the first thing it started was that, okay, we had 2 Saturdays off. So she came to me and she said, how can you do this to us? So how can you expect us to work on this Saturday? So this generation has a different perspective to things. They're looking at flexible timings. She says that if my job expects me to do work in the evenings or at late nights, so I should be given that flexibility. So I think maybe in today's context and even in the younger generation, we can't look at the traditional ways of doing things. Maybe we have to be a bit more open and more flexible in our approach, in our expectations from everyone, whether it is students, whether it is faculty, in terms of giving them larger flexibility in terms of when they want to do things and look at the outcomes rather than maybe a structure. Maybe that is where I feel that maybe some change is needed. And the other thing, when you mentioned about the mental health issues and the challenges, yeah, that is there. And I think the facts are there. Viswanathan ji pointed out, and many other statistics talk about that. So I personally feel somewhere, I think maybe we have missed it out when we look at how our education system has really performed. In terms of, if you look at the older days, eventually what is it a human is looking at? He's looking at health. he's looking at happiness, or he's looking at love. So maybe what we have actually done to our education system, we have made it too structured, maybe too much regulated, and maybe too much defined in terms of expectations. When we got into one of our ventures, that's Conclave school, and we even have a school here in Bangalore, and we got it nearly 13, 14 years back. So that was an approach they spoke about personalized learning. And they talked about 21st century skills. So that was what they started talking about. And it was like that every individual has to be treated differently, and every individual is different, and you have to plan the whole process of learning as per the own individual's set of requirements. And I think that's what maybe is a philosophy of our own traditional Gurukul system, but maybe we haven't been able to talk about it in that way, maybe the Western world which has done it. Now, they have been running 100 schools with the same philosophy of the personalized learning, and we are also running 4 schools with them in India. We also have a separate venture where we are working in the area of skilling, and the same approach of personalized learning we have brought down to the vocational sector also. But what I'm trying to say that maybe there has been a gap, as Jayaram also pointed out, in how maybe we deviated from our culture, we deviated from our roots. Even in our education system, when we talk about delivery, these elements maybe we forgot. So new education policy talks about experiential learning, it talks about all these differentiated thoughts, it talks about personalized learning. Everything is being spoken about, but maybe it is actually not getting implemented on ground, where teacher training and teacher development is important. The challenges that the young generation today faces, so that is also maybe responsible because like maybe when we look at the older practices in India, we had a joint family system. That joint family system also helped in a way that maybe how the kids grew. And later on, when we look at today's families, so I think that support system is also not there. But as educationists, if I look at for our own purpose, both in higher education as well as K-12, if we can really focus on the foundation, and if we can really make sure that maybe the next generation that comes out of it is away from the Western influences, we should take positive things from the Western world, the discipline, the sincerity, the approach towards work, all those positive things we should take, but maybe some of the challenges that Western world is facing, and as India, we have been always the front leaders in terms of how we have been addressing those challenges. But somewhere, I think in the education system, some bit of integration and that understanding and that kind of approach on ground is needed, where as educationists we all can contribute. That's what I would want to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant. And you spoke really well on all those matters which, younger generation into the leadership. How do you, of course, we already see the Gurukul system, from the past, and how your schools are doing it right now, and also the various other elements you raised. But what really struck me is the women leadership which you mentioned. And with that point of women leadership, we see that, and that's the reason why I wanted a diversity in this panel. Now, this might be a controversial question, but I'm still going to go to Dr. Madhu. Do women make greater leaders than men? Or what do you think should be the composition in the leadership hierarchy?
I think if you think, Prashant said very well, that they have introduced the women folk more into the system, that is why the system. I'm not for it. Being a woman also, I don't say that only women do wonders and men do blunders. It's not there. It's a, it's a great collaboration. SDG 17 says, collaborate, collaborate, and collaborate, right? So if, I always say that why co-educational institutes are better than the men or women schools and institutes, reason being, we learn, we learn ethics and values from women. We learn confidence and balance and hardships from men. So when there is a combination of men and women together, they are working together, that society is the best society. People always say that for every successful man, there is a woman behind. You say, you all men says that for my success, there is a woman, thanks to all of you. But in my case, my success is because there are many men behind my success. First my father, then my husband, then my son, and then my grandson. So I think I'm very lucky to have men behind me to give me in front. And I always quote this example, and Ashwin, you will be surprised to know that how the men are respecting us, thanks to all men. If they have allowed in Indian society to be in front, I think that is our success. So it's not that women do wonders or men do wonders, but the combination of both of them. You have seen organizations where men leaders are also there, women leaders are also there, they fight. But when they fight for the betterment. And one thing which you asked, the first question, I just wanted to add that drugs problem, and that's how we can solve that. National education policy is very flexible in that. So they said that since ABC is introduced as Academic Bank of Credit, so you can go for all the credits wherever you get it and put it into their bank and whatever they want to achieve. So try to explore their potential to the fullest. Our punchline, Chitkara punchline is also this, that whatever is good in the child, try to explore it and give them the different paths to be followed. Prashant said that, you said that they don't want to follow those old paths, right? So why not to give them the different paths? One student coming in first year wants to become an entrepreneur. So let him give that go to incubation center and do something else. Academics you will do on your own. They are very smart. So because they are on the technology and they know better than us. Many times they know better than the teachers. So why not to give them that path, to handhold them. The researchers can handhold them. And the second student, they say that I don't want to go to become entrepreneurs, and I want to create my own system. And I want to do some cultural activities. Let him go there. And basic knowledge of academics, you give them side by side. So I think if we do that and try to give them the platforms where they can explore their potential, they will not go into drugs. They will not go into those. So that at that time, the center of happiness, the center of different excellences comes into rescue to us.
Well said, Dr. Madhu. So I'm going to go back to your first statement on women and men. And here, it's just a observation. Do you think it's more of a good cop, bad cop situation where having both leaders, a man leader and a female leader, you can play good cop, bad cop? Is that how it helps?
I've not understood.
So the good cop is, you can be always the women leader can have a cool-headed, can take those, nicer decisions, and men would be the. I just want to know her thoughts on that. So, because she has both, Mohit is there as well.
Yeah, so I don't think so that ladies are cool-minded. We
have to.
हमें हल्के में नहीं लेना. So we are not cool. Men are cool, and we are very hard taskmasters, and that is why God was so great. We are compared with Prithvi. We have only got that added from the God that you can't give birth to the child, but we can give. So he also knows that we can take those stresses and pains which the men can't take. So I think those stresses, those pains is the responsibility of that is why we are compared with Prithvi. And the men are there to support that Prithvi and do something hanky-panky there, and we can take care of them. Yes. No, it's now also. So husband wife दोनों एक ही ऑफिस से जॉब करके आते हैं. हस्बैंड है कहता है चाय बना, कहता है ना, नहीं अभी भी कहते हैं. So it is still there. हमें तरस आ जाता है, हम कहते हैं नहीं बैठ जाओ, we will do that. So we have pampered our sons, we have pampered our husbands, we have pampered our brothers, and reason being that we like that. We don't want them to be in kitchens because then they will create problems for us. So we are happy with what we are doing. And we are very happy.
Thank you so much.
God has given.
So on the point now, on a bit more serious point on NEP, and this is a rapid fire, all right, for all my 4 panelists. And it's a yes, maybe or no. So you have 3 choices, yes, maybe or no. Do you think NEP is the best friend of a university leader today as we transform? Dr. Jayaram.
Yes. I say yes.
Is NEP the best friend of a university leader today? Best friend of a NEP, National Education Policy. Education Policy, the new National Education Policy. Yes. Is it going to be a university leader's best friend to change and bring happiness into the institution?
No, I have already commented. It is there only on paper.
I think just give me 1 minute to add. See, when this education policy was getting drafted, I, along with Viswanathan ji, we were involved in the first stage, like when the first committee was formed, and to the end, when there was a last kind of representation that through EPSI we sent, in terms of the expectations. So in terms of the policy document, the document is very well laid out. The strategy is very well laid out. It has the stakeholders' inputs, private sector inputs, higher education institutions inputs, school leaders inputs. That way, the policy document was very well framed. But in terms of implementation, maybe certain decisions that Viswanathan ji always refers to, and certain things which are very close to his heart, which he feels we should have been doing it well. So maybe that's where there's some bit of expectation, which maybe there is a gap there. But I personally feel that as a document, as a strategy paper, it is definitely a very positive document, and it really had incorporated all the expectations from each and every sector. That's my take on it.
I'm big yes. Why it is yes? Reason being that after coming 34 years, the last policy came 34 years back, and when it came, so I think it's good for us. What is the reason? Only one point reason is that policy were not gone to the stakeholders. NEP 2020, you talk to the industry, talk to the parents, talk to the villagers, talk to anybody in the country, even to the international collaborators. Everybody knows about NEP 2020. I'm very happy that the stakeholders know about this. So this is the main reason.
So it's a yes.
Yes.
So I have 3 yeses, one between maybe and no from Dr. Viswanathan.
Because sir is a man of data. Sir is a man of data. So we always look up to him whenever there is a point of data. So round of applause for Viswanathan sir, that he has all that. Now also he has a papers. Sir, show the papers to them. The whole data is there. Yes.
I mean, I just want to know if it's a friend or not. That's it. I mean, we are not here to decide whether it's good or bad. Okay, now the final question, okay? We are running short of time, and I know we all want to have a long coffee break before Sri comes in. So, India ranks very low, and this is really very hurtful for many Indians, ranks very low in happiness index. But India has been the land of happiness in the ancient times. We had gurukuls which are doing personalized teaching at that time. And now do we have to learn from the West on what are the best practices? Or do you think there is something, what is missing in India at the moment in order to create happier institutions? As, you know, maybe it's a society, it's a civic problem. What is that, you think, is the biggest challenge for leaders like you all to bring that change? So you can, it's a free-flowing question. In a maximum minute, please. We can start with anybody who likes to do it. I don't want to go and, maybe Dr. Viswanathan, if you like to.
See, as our friend Prashant pointed out, we have very good suggestions in the policy. The most important thing is, 60 years ago, Quacquarelli Commission was formed. They recommended 6% of the GDP should be spent on education. After 60 years, again it has been recommended by the latest policy that 6% of the GDP should be spent on education. Means that the last 60 years we are not able to implement it. That's the main thing. The other thing is, education is in the concurrent list of the Constitution of India. When this policy was made, no state government was invited. In fact, I asked the chairman, I should not say openly, he said no instruction. So, unless all the states cooperate, this cannot be implemented.
No, I mean, we are not here to, I mean, I just want to talk of leadership, and sorry to put that difficult question to you. And of course, moving on from there, I wanted to talk of more of a Gurukul system, our ancient beliefs. What do you think currently is lacking, or creating a challenge for leaders like you to create happy? And they probably include regulatory
The country's progress, happiness, driving away poverty, ignorance, all depends on education. The government of India, union government as well as state governments, should spend more money on education, which is not happening now. Now we are in the 77 years after independence. Still, we have not taken education seriously. If the parents don't spend money, what will happen to your country? The government schools, you know, very difficult, only poor people go there. All private schools, they have to pay, but many of them are unable to pay, or somehow they manage. In higher education, we are totally lagging behind. That's because the government is not spending. That is the most important thing education in our country is. The expenditure on education should go up. There is a world ranking on public expenditure in education, and India's ranking is 155. Pakistan is 154, India is 155. This is the problem. Unless we spend money on education, offer higher education to the poor and the middle class so that the gross enrollment goes up, all the freebies could be stopped. We should offer free education instead of free sari, free dhoti, mixie, grinder, etc. We should offer free education.
We are diverting from the leadership topic. So what I want to do is, we are already almost end of this session. In about 5 words or maximum 2 sentences, maybe you would like to conclude, Dr. Jayaram, on what is that we need to take away as for a happier institution?
Let me go to the fundamental question. Who has said that India is the lowest in the well-being? It is all about statistics. Are we really so bad? If you compare, if you say that really it's so bad, I think there should have been revolution long back. Do you think that because America is rich, they are the happiest people? Do you think Europe is very rich, they are the happiest people? On what parameters have they said the happiness is all about? I think it is not the well-being, it is not the economic wealth, it is not the comforts and materialistic what they have, but it's all about mental. How can you qualify a mental thing which is most difficult for people to understand? How do you do it? I don't believe those statistics have got any relevance to tell what India is all about. This is my take.
Thank you. Dr. Prashant, if you'd like to have the final word on, and then we'll go to Dr. Madhu.
I think this aspect what Jayaram raised is an interesting one. Somewhere maybe these indices are important and understanding is important. When QS came to India maybe 12, 13 years back, when QS iGauge started, so that was the time when actual benchmarking Indian institutions understood. So maybe I think that's where higher education institution lacked, the data, the understanding of data. So maybe once we know it better, so maybe we would be better placed. So that's what I look at it. And most of these indices come from the West. So generally I think that also is a gap. So maybe we should also focus on our local, like maybe the ranking, structures, getting robust, understanding getting robust around the same parameters. If you look at like the way you look at West and how their family ecosystem is, and how maybe we are living within our own family system, that itself is a big showcase to the world, and world looks at it. They talk about it. They talk about our joint family system. They talk about how we live together and how we are with each other in terms of in any such crisis. So I think that's something maybe is also an important aspect. And I think what QS has done well is that they have really understood the context. They have actually involved and engage with each and every stakeholder, and that's what is a big differentiator when you look at these rankings. Ultimately, they are much closer to an Indian context. So that's what I think, if everyone around the world looks at India in that particular way, or some Indian ecosystems actually evolve and go deep and then comes up with some analysis, I think that's also is an important aspect to look at. Thank you.
Dr. Madhu?
I think the person who is filling the data from the government side for happiness, they are not having any IQAC director with them. So they are not filling the data correctly. It never happens that India is not happy. They are so happy because I went to Germany and I said that you don't laugh. They say that it is discourtesy. My mother said when I was born that if you will laugh loudly, it is discourtesy to the fellow. So in India, in Punjab especially, we laugh a lot and uncha uncha bolte hain. So we laugh, we talk very loud, and we are very happy. So everybody is so happy. That is why after pandemic, this is the only country which was saved. From the perspective of the jobs, perspective of the problems of health, we were saved. So I think I'm never for it that we are not the happy country. We are happy, country is happy, and enjoy, chill after every 150 kilometers. You have different dialect to speak, you have different dialect to understand, different ways of wearing the saris, and different ways of the different colors. So we are a country of colors, country of food. So we are very happy.
Punjab is definitely the capital of happiness. So thank you so very much. We have 4 diverse leaders here. Thank you so for taking some of my questions, which are probably out of the questions I gave you all. So really appreciate. And we'll summarize it, of course, there's time limitations. But thank you for the great participation. Thank you for all of you all for listening. Thank you.